Unit 7 for Social Studies, Communities, and how communities change over time. What is a community? A community is a group of people interacting for the mutual well-being of others. So it's a group of people that help each other out in lots of different ways. So why do people form communities, and why did they form communities in the past? They formed communities in the past so that they can exchange goods and services. They needed to be able to help each other by selling things to each other and buying things from each other, paying someone to cut their hair, paying someone to grow their food. People also formed communities so that they could feel safe. They wanted to be able to depend on others to help them out in times of need. So when a group of people get together and live near each other and form this community, they're able to help one another out. They also formed communities for religious freedom. This would give them the freedom to worship however they wanted to worship without anyone telling them how they had to worship. They had a need for laws. The laws kept them safe and gave them a sense of safety. So what are some different types of transportation used in communities? Railroads were used a lot in the past. We still use railroads today. We use cars. We have buses, bicycles, airplanes. What are some different types of recreation? Recreation means things that are fun to do. Just do things for fun, for entertainment. Sometimes we go to the park. Sometimes you can go to the movie theater. You can go to the zoo or to the library. You could go swimming at the public pool or go biking on a biking trail. Those are all forms of recreation. What are some ways we communicate? Communicating is getting information from one person to another. And there are many ways that we communicate within the communities. We can use a newspaper. We can read the newspaper. We can watch television. The news every evening gives us lots of information about our world. So they are communicating those events to us through the television. We communicate by email. We also communicate on the telephone. There are town meetings as well. This is a picture of a town meeting where someone is talking to the members of the community and giving them information that they need. We can also communicate through websites. We even communicate with parents by using your daily purple folder. So what are some natural disasters or natural hazards? These natural hazards, that is a process or an event in the physical environment. So things that happen around you, these are not caused by humans. We don't always know about them. So when it says they're not predictable, we don't know far in advance that they're going to happen. And they can destroy human life and they can destroy property. So some of the natural disasters or natural hazards include hurricanes, earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes, fires, floods, and even insect infestations. That's where lots and lots of insects can come and destroy crops. So these things happen in nature. They're not caused by humans. So a human process that can change the landscape. The landscape is what you see when you look outside. It's the land around us. But we as humans have a part in changing the way that looks. Sometimes that can be positive and sometimes it can be negative. Negative change to the landscape would be things like littering, burning trash outside, dumping waste. And there are also some positive things. Some of the positive effects of the human processes are things that humans do to change the landscape. They build new homes. They move into new areas. Remember when we talked about Daniel Boone and how he had to clear the trail, clear the path for the wilderness trail. He was giving a positive human process. So he was changing the land for the better. Planting new plants. Sometimes we build tunnels. Sometimes we build bridges. Even building roads and cutting down trees to build those roads. Those are things that humans do that change the environment or the landscape. Physical processes on the landscapes. These, again, are things that change the land, but these things are caused by nature. So some changes can occur over time, but others can happen immediately, such as the rivers flooding, wind eroding, earthquakes, volcanoes, and hurricanes. So when we think of different regions, people do things differently based on the region that they live. So some examples of this, there are different types of houses that people build depending on where they live. They have different types of jobs depending on where they live. Even children play different games, they speak different languages, and they have different religious beliefs. So a hurricane is one of those natural disasters that is a type of a tropical cyclone or a severe thunderstorm that forms over the ocean. So you will find these hurricanes near large bodies of water near the ocean. It has high winds and a lot of rain, which can also cause flooding over areas on the land too. A volcano is also a natural disaster. And this is where there is a crack in the Earth's crust and it allows lava, gas, and magma to be pushed up and it causes an eruption. Volcanoes can also form islands. Hawaii is an island, a set of islands that was formed from a volcano.
Volcanoes' brutal destruction, it is also a force of beauty and rebirth for the planet. Lava creates new lands where life can flourish. Like it or not, volcanoes are part of the planet's life cycle. As the Earth continues to explode, gurgle, and slither its molten heart out, we must learn to live side by side with its awesome power.
A timeline is a way to list events in sequence or in order. Remember, it matters where the line intersects this horizontal line, okay? Where the event intersects the horizontal line. It doesn't matter if it's above the line or below the line. It's where does it happen first on the line. And we go from left to right just like we read a book. A decade is the present. It's equal to 10 years. This is about how long you've been alive. So think about some things that may have occurred in the last 10 years. Cell phones, cars look like this. We go to the movies. These are all things that have happened within this past decade, which we might consider the present. This is the present time. A century is equal to 100 years. So a century ago would be 100 years ago. There were a lot of different things that happened 100 years ago. People didn't live as long. The car changed. Ford's Model T was being mass-produced in the USA. In most developed countries, only men were allowed to vote. So they did vote a century ago, but only men were allowed to vote. The radio also started becoming a major communication tool. The Titanic would be the first ship to send a radio SOS before it sank on April 14th, 1912, which was just over 100 years ago. People even used lanterns and different types of candles to light their homes. That happened a century ago in the past. Things cost a lot different amounts of money than they do now. A gallon of gas was only 7 cents. A loaf of bread was only 5 cents. A medium price home was $2,750, and now it's like $300,000. Things were very different a century or 100 years ago.